Hey guys, what's up? Be Thomas. Today we're back here with Planet Dolan. Today, well, got another round of Reddit stories with worst injuries as kids. So yeah, these are pretty much the injuries like, woof, that hurt. And I think I said before, split my chin open, that's about it. But, well, might as well take a look back and see, well, what the worst injuries these people had. So be sure to like Scott for more, hope you enjoy. Let's go.
Planet Dolan.
Alright, let's begin.
From best friends breaking each other's arms to horrific treadmill accidents, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about the worst injuries you had as a kid. I'm Hellbent, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by Demi Demise. When Dolan was 6 years old, two of his friends, Ladybot and Pringle, were fighting over who would be considered his best friend. So, in order to see who deserved the right, they both decided to play a game of tug-of-war and use Dolan's arms as the rope. They both moved back and forth until one of them pulled his arm so hard that he fractured his left arm's ulna. Anyways, his parents didn't take him to the hospital for a full 7 hours after the incident because they thought he was faking his injury. In the end, he got a cool-looking purple cast, and the friend that fractured his arm is still his very best friend to this day. Number 9 was submitted by the naughty Yotzel 96. When he was 11 or 12 years old, Nixiom went to a park near his house with a couple of buddies. They were hanging out, doing 12-year-old boy stuff, when Nixiom decided it'd be a good idea to climb up a tree with a switchblade to cut down a rope from an old tree fort. Of course, he fell out of the tree, straight onto the knife, and blood immediately soaked through his jeans. By the time he'd walked the 5 minutes back to his house, his entire pant leg from the knee down was soaked in blood, leaving a nice crimson trail all the way home. While his dad called an ambulance, Nixiom went into shock and had to have 3 transfusions.
Yikes.
In the end, he severed a vein in his leg and nearly bled to death. Number 8 was submitted by Gagplays.
Careful what you do with
One time when Slaptam was 8 years old, he was playing soccer with his friend Robo, who accidentally kicked their ball into a basketball court. Slaptam found the ball sitting next to a post and decided to kick the ball back into the field. He swung his foot but missed the ball completely and kicked the metal post so hard he broke his foot in 2 places. He got rushed to the hospital and had a cast for a good 6 months and had to go to muscle rehab every week.
Youch! Man, that's gotta be unlucky. Just swing the foot and wham! Just, I'm surprised it wasn't worse, but then again, we did have a little, kid nearly bleed out from a knife wound to youch. And that's why you usually gotta be careful with knives, Yeesh. Also, was there any other way to get that rope down? What are you even planning to do with that? Anyway, moving along. Next story.
Number 7 was submitted by Enjoying the Ride Forever. When they were 5 or 6 years old, Gooby and Snoopy thought it would be a great idea to play with a grocery cart and have their friend Honeybits push it. A few seconds later, Honeybits hit a rock and sent them flying out of the cart. Gooby's elbow scraped the floor and she was bleeding, but Snoopy hit the ground so hard she cracked her head and needed staples. Not stitches, but staples in her head! Gooby could hear her crying and screaming from the waiting room. Ah, Gooby, why? Ah!
Her
Probably what she sounded like. Number 6 was submitted by Patchy Fox Girl. When he was 5 years old, Pringle was jumping between his and his sister's bed, thinking he could use his blanket as a cape to fly. It was fun for a while until he missed the landing and forgot that his sister's crystal and rock collection was laying under the bed. He landed on his back, not knowing the damage he had done. He managed to rip his right heel completely open. For some reason, he didn't feel the pain. He walked out to say goodnight to his mom, only to end up with a trip to urgent care where the doctor told him he shattered the nerves in his foot. The feeling in his foot eventually came back, and now he has a cool scar. Number 5 was submitted by Shadow the Bro.
He could walk after that.
When Dolan's bro was a kid, he was riding his bike when out of nowhere a snake appeared right in his path. He didn't want to hit it, so he pulled the handbrake hard, but it was only the front handbrake, and he was going so fast he flipped off his bike and landed on his head and skid along the pavement for at least 15 feet. When he finally stopped skidding, he looked behind to find his leg was twisted, his kneecap was discolored, and he left a trail of blood. He went to the hospital, and the doctor told him he was lucky he didn't break his neck. Number 4 was submitted by AutumnFool01. When Emoji was 7, her dad decided they were going to Sizzler for dinner, which is an old restaurant chain. She got so excited she did a running slide down the hallway. To her surprise, there was a small sliver of wood sticking up out of the floorboard. And when she glided over it, her foot picked up another 6 inches of wood, which went right through her sock and straight into her foot. Her dad rushed her to the hospital, and it took them 2 full hours to figure out how to get the stick out of her foot. Eventually, they decided to just tug it out with brute strength. Still to this day, she hates that one floorboard and has a scar across the balls of her feet. No.
Youch! And that's why I'm not doing any slide on wood, because, yeah, that could happen. And yikes, like, through the foot, too. Ouch. Jesus Christ. Like, I got nothing else to say. Just, ow. Okay, just need a breather. Let's move on.
Number 3 was submitted by BabyDoll617. On Ladybot's 7th birthday, her parents took her to a local fair that happened to have a petting zoo. She asked her dad for some money to buy the animals food so she could pet them while they ate. She entered the enclosure and came face to face with a huge camel. She went to feed it, and suddenly all of her arm was in its mouth, and it bit down really hard. She heard a snap and flipped out. Her dad pulled her away and took her straight to the hospital. It turned out that the camel broke her arm and dislocated her shoulder. She really hates camels now.
I can't blame him.
Number 2 was submitted by Kerbal Physicist. When they were 10, Doopy and Pandora were playing on a treadmill at Doopy's parents' house.
Getting hurt?
Pandora cranked the speed up to something ludicrous, like 18 miles per hour. But it was an old, slow treadmill, and it took a long time to speed up. It was Pandora's turn, so she got on, and it just started going faster and faster until she was flat out sprinting. It finally got too fast, and she fell forward and landed on her knees. But being a panicking 10-year-old, she didn't let go of the handlebars. So the belt just basically sanded the skin off her legs and the tops of her feet. There was blood everywhere, and Doopy's dad doesn't react well in stressful situations. He ran right out of the shower, covered in soap, and screamed, "What the hell is going on?" What's the worst injury I had as a kid?
That hurt.
It's kinda hard to pick a favorite, but anytime somebody asks me this question, one story in particular springs to mind. One day, my sister was at soccer practice, so I and all the other kids who weren't allowed on the soccer field decided to come up with our own game. The place was a big, boring open field with not much going on outside of one huge mound of dirt next to the parking lot. So at first, we decided to play a nice game of King of the Hill. Nothing too violent, just shoving each other down into the dirt. But halfway through the game, one kid noticed that the mound was full of these tiny rocks, just perfect enough to whip at each other and cause just a little bit of pain. So that started up a rock fight, which really wasn't that bad, at least not in my day. Problem was, nobody really decided on any kind of rules, like how do you win, how do you lose. It was just complete chaos. Some malicious act of violence was pretty much unavoidable. I mean, how is she supposed to win this game anyways? Well, one kid figured out how to win. She managed to find a huge chunk of asphalt. It must have weighed at least 8 to 10 pounds.
Oh, God.
A bit too heavy to throw, but not too heavy to bash me over the back of the head with it. I don't remember much about the actual impact, but I do remember grabbing onto a chain link fence and screaming, "Ah!" They had to pick out little chunks of asphalt from the back of my head and stitch me back up. But the worst part was they couldn't clean all the blood off of my Ninja Turtles backpack. The bleach would have taken out all the color. Still, credit where credit's due, she did win the rock fight. Huge thanks for the folks over on our
Ow.
Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories.
Guessing they got rid of the pile.
We have another question for you. What's the worst school...
Oh, like, I feel bad for Nixium. Like, just that wham! Just asphalt ahead. Like, jeez. Kids get really up the... Well, that was sick. Like, not in the good kind of sick. Just sick of the head kind of deal. Just, ow. Ugh. Anyway, let me know if any bad injuries you had as a kid. Until next time, like, subscribe for more. See ya.